Netiquette, how to respond to emails, discussion of proper communication online. What is netiquette? Netiquette is a set of rules for behaving properly online. How does netiquette affect you? We have all received email messages that did not follow the proper rules of netiquette. Whether we know those rules or not, we knew the email was badly done. What are the rules? Through the course of this presentation, we will discuss 10 simple rules and how to best apply them. How do you act with students online? By adhering to the proper netiquette rules yourself, you can require the same rules from your students. This can help to reduce the amount of emails you receive that cannot even be read well enough to comprehend. The rules we will discuss are general guidelines. Feel free to adapt them to your own emails, blogs, discussion board, or any other form of online communication. Rule number 1. Remember the human. This is the golden rule. If you remember only one rule discussed today, this is it. Would you say it to the person's face? When we communicate online, we often forget that there is a person on the other end. It is easier to say virtually anything online because you won't have to see the person's reaction to the email you sent. Before sending out an email, read it and decide if it's something that you would say to the person if he or she were sitting in front of you. If it isn't, reread and rewrite the message until it is. Body language. What's that? When speaking to a person, he or she picks up subtle cues in your body language and tone. When communicating online, there is no body language or tone. This is important to remember because it is easy to misinterpret the writer's meaning. All online communication is permanent. Everything that is sent or stored online is backed up. Even if you delete the message, it still remains. Think of all the politicians who have communicated online, deleted the emails, and then magically reappeared. Think of Tiger Woods and his text messages. Any email you send can be saved or forwarded by its recipient, and you have no control over who it goes to. Rule number 2. Follow the same standards. Adhere to the same standards of behavior online that you follow in real life. Online, the chances of getting caught seem slim, and since we forget there are humans on the other end, people think that a lower standard of ethics or behavior is required, but that is not the case. Be ethical. You can get away with a lot of things online, but if you were faced with the same things in real life, would you act differently? Follow the law. Privacy. Remember the FERPA laws. Do not share any information about a student with anyone other than the student. Copyright. Just because you find something online does not mean you have the right to do what you will with it. In the field of education, you can use a portion of the material for your classes, but be sure to give credit where credit is due. Rule 3. Know where you are. What is acceptable in one area online is not acceptable in another. This is especially important to remind students. There are certain rules that may be appropriate on Facebook or Twitter that are not appropriate in an online class or email. Remind students that proper English is required in all correspondence for a class. This includes discussion board as well as emails. See what others have posted before posting. It is important to set up a code of conduct for communication with students, so they will know what behavior is acceptable and what is not. Expecting them just to know is not effective, and the results are generally less than desirable. Rule 4. Respect others. You are not the center of cyberspace. Everyone is working on several things at once these days. If you have something to share, share it. Be brief. Post it only once. People are not instantaneous. Just because communication can be done instantly, don't expect the receiver to be just waiting for your message. Rules for discussions. If you participate in a discussion online, make sure that you stay on topic. There's nothing more frustrating when looking for information on a particular topic, only to come across articles that should cover it, but actually have nothing to do with the topic. Also, make sure that the language used is appropriate for the conversation. This is a great thing to get students used to with discussion boards in your classes. Spam. Spam is sending out an email to an entire list of people all at once. While I suppose it is possible for hypodermic needles to be placed within the handle of a gas pump, I don't know that everyone in the world needs to be worried of this danger. The problem is these messages make it out to so many people that they have to be true. Other than the fact that these messages often have no basis in the truth, another problem is that often these messages contain viruses. Forwarding these messages help to spread the viruses onto the computers of all those you send the message to. If you get a message and you're particularly concerned about it, first see if there's any truth to the message. There are a few different places you can check on these. A couple popular ones are Snopes.com and Hoaxslayer.com. Rule 5. Make yourself look good. Take advantage of your anonymity. The only thing people online know about you is how well you communicate. They don't know the color of your skin, the level of your education, your age, or anything else about you. This is where your knowledge of basic grammar comes to play. We all took a grammar class at some point in our lives. How many years ago was that? How much of that do you recall? I'm not suggesting you put yourself in a Grammar 101 class. I'm just suggesting brushing up a bit. Even the simple act of using the spell check and grammar check feature of Word before putting information online can be a big help. Don't worry about trying to be cool and learning the abbreviations. It doesn't help to establish authority. Know what you're talking about. Make sure if you post information that it's factual and not an opinion. Nothing spreads faster than misinformation online. A common example of this is politicians. Often they suggest many things either for them or against their opponent which are not true. Remember your manners. Be pleasant and polite. Do not use offensive language. Remember, you get more bees with honey than vinegar. In communicating with students, you may have a knee-jerk reaction to respond to a student's email in a less than favorable way. This is an urge that needs to be resisted. As the professional in the situation, it is important you keep the emails at a professional level. Arguing back and forth won't get you anywhere, and if the student doesn't end up getting what he or she wants from you, you don't want to have written anything that you wouldn't want that student to later share with your dean or the school president. Rule 6. Share your expertise. The biggest internet strength is numbers. The reason asking questions online is effective is because there are a lot of knowledgeable people reading the questions who can give intelligent answers. If you have information you can share, share it. The internet was founded and grew to share information. Don't be afraid to share what you know. If you know the answer to a posted question, answer it. If you post a question and it is answered privately by email, post the answer. If you've done formal research on a topic, post it. Think of being online as being part of a huge group project. The only way it succeeds is if everyone participates. Rule 7. Control flaming. Oh, come on, tell us how you really feel. Flaming is what people do when they express a strongly held opinion without holding back any emotion. Tact is thrown out the window. This often takes place on discussion boards. Sometimes it can seem entertaining initially, but it is generally distracting and takes the place of real content. It can also destroy the camaraderie within a group. It is best to stop this kind of messaging as soon as it starts within a discussion. Remove the negative messages, then privately email the students involved and explain to them that the discussion board is the proper place for such a discussion. Rule 8. Respect others' privacy. Don't read other people's emails. Just like you wouldn't go through the desk or files of others, you wouldn't read email that belongs to others. Don't leave your email where others can read it. Even if you wouldn't read others' emails, it doesn't mean others wouldn't read yours. Make sure when you walk away from your computer, you log out so that someone would have to have your password to get your information. This is the whole purpose of your key account and having to log into your computer, email, Blackboard, WebAdvisor, etc. Don't share student information with others. FERPA is an important act which prohibits the distribution of student record information to anyone other than the student without specific permission. Rule 9. Don't abuse your power. You are the authority figure. It is your class. Therefore, you are the authority figure. As such, the decisions and rules you make are the decisions and rules that matter. Be willing to communicate with students. Sometimes students, even with the best of intentions, can get confused, lost, or behind. Be willing to communicate with your students to help them get back on track. As the authority in the class, you can determine whether this means letting the student turn work in late, or letting him or her know where he or she needs to start to continue. Be understanding. When due dates are set, you always have the right to tell students no to turning work in late. However, it is important that you listen to the student and decide whether his or her reason is reasonable enough to allow you to let him or her turn his or her work in late. If you decide you will have a no-tolerance policy, let the students know up front. This way you will have backing. Rule 10. Be forgiving. Everyone makes mistakes, particularly those who are new to classes online. These mistakes can run from not being able to log in, not knowing how to check their official email, not being able to submit an assignment, or a simple spelling error. This is often true and understandable at the beginning of a class. Be ready to offer the students some minimal technical support, or at least know where to send them. Instruct the students of your requirements on day 1. Give them an assignment to test out the issues that are most common. Give them an opportunity to succeed before their grades depend on it. Give the benefit of the doubt. Assume they don't know any better. Just because you know how to do these things and you understand what your assignments require, give them the benefit of the doubt and work with them when you can until it becomes a pattern with a particular student. Then, with that particular student, try a different approach. Summary. Remember the human. Follow the same standards. Know where you are. Respect others. Make yourself look good. Share your expertise. Control flaming. Respect others' privacy. Don't abuse your power. Be forgiving. Source. These tips have been adapted from the book Netiquette by Virginia Shea. It is available online and in a printed edition. I hope that this has opened your eyes to some things that maybe you haven't thought about regarding online communication.